little bit of it, and it's fascinating. Okay, so now I will give the floor to Lika. So please.
Thank you so much. So my name is Lika Kapustina. Yes, this year I graduated from the political science bachelor program, and today I will tell you more about opportunities and limitations of the analysis of open court data on the case of administrative case data and practice on the Moscow City Court website. So first of all, what we talk about today, today we're going to talk about the next things. First of all, I'll tell you more about Russian law on open judicial data. I'll tell you about the previous projects and research, also about the research that inspired me on my bachelor thesis. I'll tell you more about my own research on protest cases in Russia. We will talk about the methodology of the process, for example, how to web scrape and process open judicial data. And in the conclusion, I will discuss on these limitations of work with open judicial data. So first of all, we need to talk more about the Russian law on open court data. And here we have a few important dates in the discussion. So first of all, in Russia, federal law number 262 presents the main rules governing this publication, the publication of the text of judicial decisions in the internet. And the first version of this law was published in 2008. A few years before, a new version was published, and after this version was published, the Russian courts started to publish decisions online, as far as I know. So also, a few years later, the actual Supreme Court Presidиум ruling, which is постановление Президиума Верховного Суда Российской Федерации, was published, and it governs the technical details of court data publications. Well, the publication of the new version of Law 262 in 2011 was the starting point that launched research and civic projects, and I think without them there will be no conversation about the further work on open court data. And also I need to specify here, for here and further, that judicial data, judicial decisions, court data, and case data are the synonymous in my research. So first of all, we need to talk more about the Rospravosudие project. It was a big and important project that we need to mention here. It was created in 2012 after publication of the new version of Russian law number 262 by the lawyer Gleb Suvorov. You can see him here on the right, and programmer Vadim Topnik. Initially, the project was created with money from the authors, then existed on money from Google Ads and grants from ANR-Lab. Cumulatively, the project used $20,000 and was due to the conflict between creators. Rospravosudие provided full statistics on judges and advocates of judicial cases. So you can see the interface of Rospravosudие here. Now it's closed. You can find Rospravosudие on the ANR-Lab, but you can see the interface and understand what type of information you could get from the Rospravosudие. And his judicial decisions, such as решения here. You can get data on the judges, on the lawyers, on the courts, and also some research on some type of violation of Russian law here in Russia. And also, after this, we need to talk about the it's really nice to see the Svetlana Zhitchkova here in my presentation, because her algorithm really inspired me to work on my bachelor thesis. So I think Svetlana could say more about her algorithm, but what I read in the internet. So the algorithm was created by the Svetlana Zhitchkova, who is also the Higher School of Economics in Plain, and trained by the staff of the Consortium of Women's Non-Governmental Association. Consortium женских неправительственных объединений. So Svetlana wrote a code that captures open judicial data under Articles 105, 107, 111.4 of the Criminal Code, Уголовный кодекс, and analyzes texts of her decisions. So using her algorithm, Svetlana concluded that approximately 65.8% of killed women in Russia was killed during the domestic violence episodes. We talked about the data, the open judicial data, but also here we have another important themes such as protests. And what about data on protests in Russia? So when we talk about protests, of course, of the info, the things that angle that we need to talk about more. But the info is the most prominent angle in the field of the protest in Russia, and also a few years before it was recognized by the Russian state as performing the functions of a foreign agent. But the info provides detailed analytic reports on the legal regulation of protests in Russia and for statistics on these cases, but there is no information about gender and in social demographic terms. For example, you can use this link and find information about the number of cases by the regions, by the years, or maybe a median number, a median size of the fine, but you can find information about the gender of the defendant and some social demographic factors that influenced the decision of the judge. Also, already at the end of my research, I found out that the staff of the info tried to do a similar research as me in last year, in 2020. This data from a district court in St. Petersburg and didn't parse all the text of the court decision, but they face the same difficulties and procedural violations that I did, the encrypted data. Yeah, so they named their research is impossible research, and I'm really happy that my research with my colleague was possible research because we based on all of the protest cases data from the Moscow City Court site. So first of all, my research was inspired by the previous research and status algorithm. By the start of my final year, I decided that I want to work with open judicial data, and so I will accept this hard challenge with working with NLP and bootstrapping, and also with some procedural violations. So the theme of my bachelor thesis was the influence of gender of the defendants and judges of the decision of guilt, type, and extent of punishment in the political protest cases in Russia. So what about the methodology of my research? Well, I have the 3 steps here. First of all, I collected data from the Moscow City Court site. After this, I prepared data using some logical rules, regular expressions, and Natasha model in Python. And also after this, we analyzed data using a few regression models. I will not tell you more about the data analysis because it is not so important here, but I think I will tell you more about the web scraping and the data preparation. So when we talk about the open judicial data, it is, I think mainly it is 2 important sites that we need to assess to get data from. For example, it is the state automated system Kapustina. Let's try to get data just for now. So you can open site sud.rf.ru and click on search of judicial acts. And here you can find, you can insert some information and find information on cases that you want to find in. So for example, we can insert some article of criminal court, administrative court, of civil court. For example, I don't know, maybe article 114. Yes. And we can find cases on this article. Let's just wait for a half of a minute. Sudaref statement system правосудия is not so quickly. Yeah, so here we can see the information. We can see the basic information on the page. In this case, first of all, we can see that this is the case in first instance. We can see the number of criminal court article. We can see the region of the Russian Federation, the result of the first instance. Also, we can see the information about the judge, Римская Таисия, and also about the defendant. Here we can see the movement of case and the judicial actor. So here we can see the court decision on this criminal court and information about the details of this criminal court case. Yeah, so also we have another pretty familiar for me source of open judicial data information, this Moscow City Court site. So you can use pretty similar algorithm to work with it. So first of all, you open most Gorsuit site. You can click on search on court cases and click on extend search. So you can see here you can insert the same data as in case of state committee system justice. So for example, we can insert here the article 20.2 part 5, which is article for participation in protests, and we will find cases on it. So yeah, so here we can see the 28,000 of cases, and we can see them almost 2,000 of pages with links on the cases. So if we want to open some case, we can click on this link, and we will see the information about case. So here we can see the unique ID, number of case, the defendant, Larionov VA, date of registration, administrative court article, here the result of case, and also some other information, for example, the movement of case. And here we can see the documents on case, for example, the постановление значения административного наказания or for decision in the first instance. Here we can download file and even open it. Yeah, so let's do this, 1 second. Right now I'm opening this file and I will just share other desktop. Second, yes. So here we can see the decision on the administrative court article. So here we can see some information about the case, about the court, Кузьминский районный суд, Кузьминский district court. We can see the name of the document, the address, the date of the pre-decision, some information about the defendant, details about the court case or motivated part, where judge needs to write more about what was in the judicial case. And also here in the end, we can see the result of judicial case. So here we can see that Larionova VA was found guilty in committed violation under the article 20.2 part 5 of Administrative Code of Russian Federation, and she got punishment in the size of 20,000 rubles as administrative fine. Yes. So it's just a simple example of how we can work with judicial data. It's pretty simple. Also, we can, for example, search not only the number of article, part of article. We can also use some text strings. For example, we can insert here some details. Well, maybe if we want to, we can insert here maybe the word protest or protest action and get some other judicial decisions that we can find on the Moscow City Court site. Yeah. So what did I do in my research? So first of all, I scraped the link to the cases. It's the information that you can find here. So I scraped all of these links to the cases under Article 20.2 of Administrative Code. After this, I web scraped all of the cases information and file and made some things with the file storage, prepared this file and initiated a few new forms, and also extracted text from the text file to find this data frame with information about the cases. So what I got after this stage was done, I got the first table, the basic information from Moscow City Court site dataset, where there was one case. I'll get the data on all cases and some basic information from the personal case page. And also, after that preparation and filtering and also text attributes extraction, I got this second table. It was my final dataset, information on all personal cases with additional info on defendant and court decision. Where one row was one case. Also, I got the basic case information and extracted data attributes from text of court decision. When we talk about the comparison of SAS Justice and Moscow City Court site, we can compare these sites as a source of judicial data, and we need to, I need to tell more about the specific of the sites. So first of all, when you work with the state automated system justice, you can get data from regional courts and from Moscow courts. When you work with the Moscow City Court site, of course, you can get data only from the Moscow City Court and the Moscow District Courts. Well, the state automated system justice has older site with more frequent error occurrence, and the Moscow City Court site has modern interface and more stable website. Yes, so far as I know, the Moscow City Court site has been developed by the Frog company. It's a Russian IT company, and yeah, I think the site is pretty much stable. Well, also. For both state automated system justice and Moscow City Court site, information from the site can be web scraped with Selenium and Python. By Selenium, because you need to, at least you need to click on buttons to get additional information. For example, to open the documents field and to get information about the documents on the case. And also, when we talk about the state automated system justice, the judicial documents don't need to be saved as documents. You can copy it as text from the web page and save it to your computer or Pandas data frame, for example. And when we work with the Moscow City Court site, you need to save the judicial documents as documents and do something with it afterwards. So, for example, I saved all of the documents. It was in a few formats such as docs, PDF, HTML. And after this, I extracted these text documents to the TXT files using OS module for Python. And so, due to nice interface and website stableness, I think the Moscow City Court site can be used as a start point in your research. For example, if you think that getting data from only from Moscow can be okay for your research. Yeah, so what did I write for the Moscow City Court site? So I wrote a few web scrapers. So we have the first web scraper that collected links to the personal pages, and the second web scraper that collected data and linked to the documents on the one case of case web page. Yeah, so talking about the text mining processes, how you can get data from the judicial case. So first of all of the court decision have the same structure. So first of all, you have the introduction. Next, you have the middle part or intermediate part, as my friends lawyers like to say, and also you have the court decision conclusion. So in the introduction, you can find some information about the person. For example, here we can see the date of birth, the place of birth, the place of living and registration, and also the place where this person works. And always even his marital status, household. Also, we can see the main part. It contains usually the information about the case, for example, the date of protest case and the number of persons that has been participated in this protest case. And also we have the decision conclusion, where we can see was the person found guilty or not, which type of punishment has she or he got, and also the size of punishment. For example, the amount of fine or amount of days under administrative arrest. So here you can see possible all of the social demographic and so on data that you can extract from the court decision. It is social demographic data. It is information about advocate, presence of advocate or absence of advocate, and also information about court decision. Well, when we talk about the data availability on administrative cases from Moscow City Court side, I think I really need to share with you the digits that I got. So when we talk about the statuous web scraping of links for cases, I think mostly maybe all of the data was possible. I lost maybe a few links for cases. When I scrape data from on the personal case page, I also got data on all of the cases with some errors handling, but it was okay. But on the stage when I calculated which percent of cases doesn't have any documents, any published documents at all, I calculated that about 7% of court cases doesn't have any documents on the personal page. It's quite sad, but I think that's not so much. And also the biggest problem in my research that I think can occur in administrative cases research. So during the text extraction of size of punishment, I found that approximately in half of cases, size of fine wasn't included, which is also a procedural violation and the main limitation of my research. So here you can see there is a number of cases that I found on the Moscow City Court side. It was the first instance, the second instance, the appeal cases, and also you can see the person of cases with no files at all. So you can see this information by year, and you can see that after 2011, the situation got much better. Yeah. So about text mining process, technically I used Python script to extract information from the text documents. My technical decision was based on a few Python libraries. First of all, I used Natasha for name entities relation to get amount of clients and names in documents. Also, I used Remodel for regular expressions for search for some strings and logical rules for some text extraction. So how does it work? I wrote a Python script, and we can see here, for example, if I want to define a function that will get a text of her decision and return the status of education of person, I can initiate a next function. So for example, here, if the Python can find the string слышим образованием, here in the her decision text, it will return the higher education status. So here we can see that usually higher education can be coded as с высшим образованием or имеющее высшее образование or some strings such as this. Yes, and also I just wrote plenty of these functions that got information on text. Maybe sometimes it was the introduction of proof decision, sometimes it was the middle part or motivated part of proof decision, sometimes it was the conclusion of the proof decision. And so these functions just returned the interested information about the social demographic information on person and the court case details. And also, during the research process, I encountered three types of problems: legal, technical, and procedural. So here we have the legal problems. First of all, documents in case aren't available when case somehow affects the state security. For example, when I try to see the documents on Nikolai Platoshkin, famous Russian oppositioner case, so I get nothing because somehow his case just somehow affects the state security. Also, I faced three technical problems. First of all, sometimes documents on case aren't available because court apparatus is responsible for this in every court, and they have a lot of work, sometimes just really simple but tough technical work to do, and so they can always publish case documents in time. And this problem is even worse in regional Russian courts, according to the Vadim Volkov. In his, as he stated in his book about Russian judges. And also, I faced a few procedural violations, which I will tell you more here. So here we can see the ruling of the Supreme Court Presidium that was published in 2017. Это постановление Президиума Верховного Суда Российской Федерации, which regulates the technical details about the application of the judicial acts online. So here we can see in point 3.2, when publishing text of judicial acts on the internet, the next text information shall not be excluded from the text, such as name of judge, name of advocate, name of defendant, and also amount of money, including fines. But what I got during my research. So first of all, I sometimes inherited cases where there was no name of lawyer. Also, when there was no name of judge. For example, here it was coded as FIO. And also, well, it was a very common problem. The size of fine was unfixed. Also, we have another procedural violations here. In point 3.3, it says, when publishing text of judicial acts on the internet, the next text information shall be excluded from the text. Date and place of birth, place of living or registration, telephone number, and passport data. And so what we can find here, we can find the actual address of registration and address of living of person specified by the flat, even the flat. I think it's it can be pretty, well, that's not okay. So that was a very common procedural violation that I've encountered. And what I can say in conclusion. So Russian law creates possibilities for work with open judicial data. You can web scrape data in person, judge technical details and judicial documents. You can web scrape with Selenium and Python. Sites such as Moscow City Court site and State Automated System Pravosudия. It will take hours of Python script, but you can start always your script to work at night. So finally, I got the speed such as 2 seconds on one personal page of the case. Well, that's pretty okay because I needed to open some buttons and to get some information, wait for the informations to be loaded. Well, that's was pretty okay because my Python scripts was worked at night. Also, it's hard to extract social demographic data from text of court decision in case of administrative court articles. Maybe situation is another for cases under other codes, such as criminal code, civic code. But in our case, in final regression analysis, we had only 3,000 observations because of the metadata problem. And what I can say here is the conclusion that research based on open data, at least connected with administrative code articles, is nice to find interesting cases to illustrate social problems, to estimate effects of some attributes in regression models with big number of cases. For estimate the prevalence of something, like in case of algorithm Sveta, where Svetlana Zhizhkova calculated that approximately 65% of married women in Russia was married due to the domestic violence. Also, you can make some conclusions about judges in the first system and research the case movement. For example, the movement from the first instance to the second and the reasons of appeal. And when we talk about the interesting cases to illustrate social problems, I want to share with you a few interesting cases that I found during my research. I think it will be nice to illustrate how does the Russian law in the administrative code article really works when we talk about the protests. So here we can see the first illustration. And also you should know that you can be punished not also for participation in the protest of usage of poster, but even for the textile shopper. It can be seen for the court as a tool of visual agitation. So here you can see this specific shopper, which has the sign school bus on it. So it cost about 1,200 rubles, but you can got the size of fine about 10, 15, or even 20,000 of rubles. It's fine for it. Also, well, you can face a situation where you, for example, went to the street after training in some school. So here we have the specific court decision. The person went to the street after training in the tennis school and got into the protest action. He used some documents that could help him to avoid the decision such as found guilty. He used the explanatory note about a reason for being on the street brought by himself. Also, he got the explanatory note from tennis school administration, which confirmed that he was participated in the training this day. He has the witness statement and even checks and photos. But the judge thought that it's not a full evidence that can be used in this case. And here we can see the interesting text here. The testimony of the witness, as well as the documents attached to the case materials at the hearing as a request of. Namely, we mentioned these documents before. The first thing is crucial, as they contradict other evidence available in the case, regard them as defense position chosen in order to avoid responsibility for the committed administrative offense. What is the other evidence here in administrative cases in context of political protest in Russia? It's always the statement of the Rosgvardia staff. So if the Rosgvardia staff says that you violate Russian law, you can use a lot of any different documents, but nothing will help them, as we see in this case. And also, in what cases you can be found not guilty for real or not participation in the protest. I think this case illustrates how hard it is to prove your innocence. So here we have the case. Man, pensioner and a cardiosurgeonist, went on the street with his father, also pensioner, to escort him to the clinic. They came out from the underground in the street where protest takes place. As far as I remember, it was maybe it was Pushkinskaya. And man was stopped, tasered by electroshocker, beaten up, and arrested by the Rosgvardia staff. And in this case, medical documents for physical trauma of defendant were brought into the case file, and eventually defendant was found not guilty. It follows from the documents that name of defendant went to a trauma center for hematomas on the right side of the chest. So it's really sad, but it is the Russian reality. And also, not to end on this sad point, I want to share with you some information about other judicial data sources that you can use in your research. So first of all, we have a big database of United States Supreme Court decision. We can get data from the very beginning of the Supreme Court. Also, you can use data on United States National Sex Offenders public website. You can, if you want to, make some research with geographic data, geodata, you can use this service. So you just insert, for example, you can insert the first and second name of the person, or and find information about him or her, about the crimes that he or her has made, or you can insert the information about the location and the sexual offenders that live or work in this area. Also, you can use the unofficial site judges of the Russian Federation. It provides short information about judges in Russia and also reviews of usual citizens. And if you believe in your success, you can send request for data for the Judicial Department of the Russian Federation, Судебный департамент Российской Федерации, and they can maybe provide you extended information on judicial cases. And so here you can find an example of research based on a judicial department. So I think that's all. So thank you for your attention.
Lika, thank you so much. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions or comments? It's actually great that we have Svetlana Zhukova here. So Svetlana, probably you would like to ask some questions or to make some comments as well.
Yes, thanks. If I may, Lika,
Yeah, sure.
First of all, it's very glad to hear that our algorithm is finally work. It's like, a pleasure to hear. I have a question about your actually empirical research, not a methodological part, but your empirical part.
Mhm.
Could you tell a little bit about the results of your empirical research? I mean, in terms of what factors you found to affect the court decision?
Okay, so 1 second. So yes, I will open this slide, and also it was interesting for us, for me and my colleague, to understand which factors affects the decision of the court. We thought that it could be the gender, for example, as gender of the defendant, and also the gender of the judge. So, for example, we saw that women judges could make a harsher sentence for their dependents because of their needs to go through the um, upper to the career ladder. Yes, so in our research, we used a few regression models and found that the gender of the defendant doesn't affect the type and the size of punishment. It affects the number of days of arrest. For example, so the women got the smaller number of days of arrest when they got arrested. And also we got the results such as that women judges not don't make harsher sentences. They make the easier sentences. Yeah, so in comparison with male judges. Yes, if I can tell you more, maybe later or in text. Yes, it's possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Then we have a hand from Ekaterina. So Ekaterina,
Thank
please.
you very much for your very fascinating presentation, Lika. I would like to ask you about this technical problem with this Moscow court website. I found suddenly, I didn't expect this, that they delete the judicial decisions if they were appealed and reversal in the appeal court. What for my research on jury trials and verdicts of jury trials was in acquittal case, then they were returned from the appeal courts half or more. So they deleted almost all judicial decisions. In your data set, did you find such cases, for instance, just comparing two data sets from various period of time or another way?
Ekaterina, thank you for the question. Well, I didn't face this problem. We worked only with the first sentence cases, and we thought that we maybe catched all of the data that we needed. It's interesting to know that you are encountered. Well, interesting question. I think, well, in my plans, it was to address a few questions to the maybe to the Moscow City Court employees about their work and the publication of their judicial cases. Well, I think I can ask this question in my email or in my in my physical mail. Well, it's interesting, but I didn't encounter this problem.
That might explain your this gaps of different period of time. How many you missed these judicial decisions in every year, because it might be that in some years there are much more activity in appeal court. So and you can see that they lost this decision. They published usually, but then they delete them.
Interesting. Also, I know that the Rospravosudye database with data from the 2011 to the 2018 was published somewhere in the internet. Maybe you can find some decision in it. Yeah. You can contact me on Telegram or you can contact me with my email, and I think I can send you the link to the downloading the Rospravosudие database. Thank you for the
Thank you
question.
so much. And we have another question from Ilya Karpov. Ilya is asking if you are planning to publish the collected dataset.
Yes, thank you for the question. I don't have plans such as publish this data. First of all, because I think it can be dangerous for the people who got the administrative cases, the punishment. So first, as you can see, for example, here, I masked all of the personal, as a part of the personal information, the first name and the last name of the defendants. And so this question, well, I thought about it a few months ago, and I think that I will not publish this information in every in internet or in all the way, because it can be somehow dangerous for the people, even if we, for example, mask personal data. So if we have, for example, a link to the case, you can go to this link and also get information such as first name, last name, and so due to the procedural violations, such as, for example, publication of the full address of living or full address of registration of person, it's just not safe for the people which I researched.
Yeah, I think that this is a good strategy of researcher. So first of all, if you're working with this data on people, so everything should be safe for them.
Maybe I will publish maybe article about this experience, because I got nice people part. So it was a really tough, hard, and big work. Well, I think I will continue to work on the ideological part of working with the judicial open data, but yeah, not with the data set.
Actually, it was my question. What are you planning to do next with this?
Well, for the next, I will try to write an article on this data on my bachelor thesis, and try to publish it in maybe some English magazine. Yes. So I think I thought about work to get data from the state internet system, just to get data not only from the Moscow courts, but with the data on the regional courts and Moscow courts, to get the normal data, the full data on the Russian Federation administrative cases. But well, I think it is work that I will done and not this month. Somehow later.
Okay, great. Okay, dear colleagues, do you have any other questions or comments? Probably I can ask the last one, a little bit tricky question, but I think, Lika, you can answer this. So as we invited to this seminar also the participants who are thinking about going to the master degree program, we do hope that to our program, I think that probably, Lika, you can say, can you say, yeah, about some skills which you find very useful that you got during your studies, even though, I mean, this is your bachelor's program and this is not our master's program, but I mean, what you see now as important skills that you can get during your studies, and by which skills you as a social researcher can, what skills can be important for you as a social researcher doing some projects like this, for example?
Yes, so I think here in the Faculty of the Social Sciences in the Higher School of Economics in Russia in Moscow, we have a really good base of courses such as Python for data analysis, R for data analysis. Also, we have a few courses such as web scraping. So you can, I think after the master program, you will know how to work with Python, analyze data with Python and R, and also how to scrape data by yourself automatically, not manually. It would take a lot of time, just to scrape, to get some data, insert into Excel rows and columns, but you can work with that automatically, and it's really nice. So that's what I like in my studies. That's what I'm trying to practice more in every case of my research. So I think here in the master program, rolled by our laboratory, you have nice Python and Python for data analysis, R for data analysis courses that will help you to do your own research based on open data, and to automatically collection of the open data.
Yeah, data is
I
the
think
future. Thank you very much, Lika. Yeah. Okay. So if we do not have any other questions, so probably we can